We do have a guest in the studio. I want to welcome Greg Hasty in. Greg, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I saw you yesterday, got to meet you a little bit, but, I just happened to be here in the studio. I didn't get a chance to visit with you a whole lot. I've seen your political signs out and about, Greg Hasty, your presiding commissioner and all that, but I've never met the man, and now I'm meeting the man. And you understand you're a surveyor?
I am a surveyor. I've been surveying at the Lake of the Ozarks for over 40 years.
Over 40 years now, so you know the lake pretty well as a surveyor.
I know the lake.
Up and down
really
all
well.
the way, yeah, pretty well. So tell me a little bit about your background before we get started here.
My family has been at the Lake of the Ozarks in this central Missouri area for 7 generations. I have there's a little cemetery down below Bagnell Dam where I've got generation after generation buried in that cemetery. Have a lot of knowledge about the lake. Always wanted to be a surveyor. Surveyed, before I even got out of high school. I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
What a place to survey, too.
Yeah.
I mean, this has got to be more difficult than, say, flat Kansas.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal, yeah.
Yeah, brutal. As a matter of fact...
tick bites, chigger bites, the whole works around here,
Yeah, after going to school specifically for the purpose of, a surveying-related school, well, my first day on the job at $1.60 an hour.
Wow.
Back in 1974.
Yeah.
I was at the bottom of a bluff where Indian Barrow Cave was, looking up with 101-degree heat, ticks, chiggers, and snakes, and brush so thick you couldn't see 10 feet.
Yeah, I've heard some nightmares about being a surveyor.
Wondering why I chose this career.
At $1.60 an hour.
Yeah. So, but things happen over a period of time. So gradually, I've literally worked my way up from the bottom.
Done well. You got a family?
I do. Yeah.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, I have my wife, Lynn, and we have a combined 5 children and a bunch of grandchildren. And
what happens as you get older, your grandchildren start showing up. Yeah,
grandchildren are they're a lot more fun than kids.
Yeah, I hope your children aren't listening, but I agree with you. Yeah. So now, have you been into politics before?
Never.
Okay, so
Never.
This is your first. You're diving in here, and I would imagine there's a reason for this. There's something you don't like.
Yeah. What I've seen taking place over the course of the last 3.5 years has concerned me to the point where I felt like, as a matter of fact, I probably had 150 or 200 people ask me, Greg, you need to run for this office. Over the last even 10 years at the Lake of the Ozarks, it seems like that some big disaster happens one after another, caused by by either federal or state or local government. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2006, you had this impact minimization zones proposed through FERC that would have destroyed the value of
numerous homes and properties,
millions of dollars worth of value, if not billions of dollars of value of property on the Lake of the Ozarks. A few years go by and you have the FERC issue again with project boundaries, and you have a bunch of FEMA maps that were thrown out by the federal government that you basically have to prove that you're not in a flood zone when we all know that these homes are all sitting above Bagnell Dam. So it's just one fiasco after another. Camden County adopted planning and zoning. They literally threw together some maps full of errors, pulled
as a surveyor, you would know this.
Right.
Yeah.
And they pulled a planning and zoning book off the internet in PDF form from Franklin County, made 2 or 3 changes and plugged it in and thought it would work. I knew that it wouldn't work. There were meetings that took place in 2004 that had surveyors, title companies, engineers, realtors, bankers. Everyone was saying that these things were not going to work, and they attempted to put input into this book, but the people in charge really didn't change anything.
Well, you're saying they didn't listen to the people that would actually know. Yeah.
They didn't listen to a bunch of people that had a lot of knowledge, and we've had nothing but trouble ever since. We haven't had, it affects real estate closings. It affects the development of properties. Initially what happened was they had a planning and zoning guy in there that said, yeah, this is not going to work here. So they just turned a blind eye to a lot of things.
He's no longer around, is he?
Right.
Because he didn't agree, yeah.
So the next guy they get in there, quite frankly, whenever this is what made me decide to run for office, as a result of being a surveyor and seeing client after client after client go into the planning and zoning department of Camden County and be treated differently, and some of them just, quite frankly, being treated extremely rudely and having their property, their rights trampled on. I just decided it's time we had a level playing field. So
very frustrating, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the important thing for me is, I believe that we need to have a honest look as a group of citizens in Camden County as to what we want our lake 50 years to look like.
Shouldn't the citizens the ones to be deciding?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We should be deciding that. Yeah. So if elected, it's not going to be me just saying, this is what needs to be fixed.
Because I'm the big guy, I'm going to say this is what we're doing. But no, you want to listen to the people.
No,
that's the way it should be.
Yeah. We, the people, should decide how we want our lake to look 50 years from now, because we're not doing this for us. I'll be gone. This is about my kids and my grandkids, and the bottom line is it's about people, and Lake of the Ozarks has got a giant problem that no one recognizes until you tell it to them. The problem we have is that we don't have a diverse enough economy to allow for our children to go to school, go off to college, come back to the Lake of the Ozarks and actually make a living.
That I've heard over and over for years now.
So what you have is you have a bunch of grandparents down here who are retired. They either retired from somewhere else or they retired after a career here, whose children are all living somewhere else, which means they are separated from their grandparents.
Their family in general, yeah.
So if we had a diverse economy, we would be able to have our grandchildren living nearby their grandparents, and we could have a stronger sense of family in this community. It's an important issue, and the only way we do that is to create a diverse economy. So we've got to really be, as a government, thinking about the things that we can do to make that happen. And my perspective is, having a lifetime here, I grew up in Richland, Missouri, the southeast corner of the county. I had my office in Sunrise Beach for 15 years, and actually started out surveying here in Osage Beach. So I know this lake really well. Camden County is a county that is setting there within less than 50 miles of the population center of the United States, with about 10 miles of railroad track frontage in southeast corner of the county.
Are we using that? No,
we're not using it. And
well, there's a reason we don't have industry here right there.
So that's right. Yeah. And it just so happens that we're also within 9 miles of Interstate 44. So looking at the county as a whole, when you start looking at the railroad frontage, the access to Interstate 44, and the fact that we're one of the biggest retirement and recreational centers in the United States, you don't think that we could attract business executives to locate here? They would love to live here and have access to the interstate highway system and the rail system that's just sitting there waiting. No one thinks about it. No one's done anything about it. It's my goal to try, if I can get involved in this, to try to make this happen for Camden County. And this would take time, but the long-term vision I have for Camden County is to have a diverse economy with substantial industrial capability. And this has happened before. Quite frankly, growing up in Richland, Missouri, back behind my house was a railroad spur in the middle of the woods on railroad tracks with trees growing up through the cars.
Oh, my.
As a young kid, I didn't know what that was.
But a blast. Okay, but
go
ahead.
Yeah. But then I realized when I was able, as a surveyor, to go research these things, I found out that they had made a pretty good-sized canning factory in Richland in the early part of the 20th century, and we're shipping stuff all over the United States. So when you look at what we have here, and the proof of that is, take a look at Lebanon, the things that are going on there. We have the exact same set of circumstances in Camden County, and we haven't even attempted to capitalize on it. We have a lot to offer here for big business. We're just not making the effort to recognize those things and implement them, because typically we're too busy fighting amongst ourselves for scraps.
Yeah, I was going to say there seems to be, and this has come up several times over the past 10 years, and like you said, this is not something that's going to happen right away. It's going to be long term, and you probably be gone before the fruition of the whole thing. But it's got to get started sometime.
Yeah, someone has got to sit and take a look and see what the potential is, and I've been doing that. I've thought about it for a long time, and it frustrates me that no one's looking at the big picture. We're sitting here and we're picking up the scraps off the floor when we could be at the table.
Mm-hmm. I like that analogy.
This is an incredible place to live. I've lived here all my life, and I just think it's the most beautiful, serene, four-season type area that you could possibly have. Great place to live. I love this lake.
You can see that, and if you're listening out there, Greg Hasty, you can tell he's impassioned about his where he lives, and now he's got a little tick here that over the years it's just been probably grinding at you. And now there's the time you're going after the presiding commissioner and that job.
Yep.
Now, have you met Bev Thomas and Cliff Luber, the other commissioners?
Yeah, I've met them.
Get along fine with them and everything.
You bet.
All right.
You bet. Yeah, I think that my goal as presiding commissioner would be to identify where we have problems, get those fixed, and work with the two associate commissioners because they're more familiar with their areas. Mm-hmm. Although I'm really knowledgeable about this county.
As a surveyor, I can see that. I mean, because you're out and about, there's no way you couldn't know where almost every road and tree is. Yeah.
Yeah. The southeast corner of Camden County is 6 inches under the pavement at the corner of A Road and 7 in Richland, and it's a railroad spike. So
see, he would know this, yeah.
Yeah. So things like that. The deeds from the 1920s deeds with regard to the transfer of property from Union Electric and Land and Development Company to Union Electric Power and Light, I knew about those deeds. In the 1970s, I was in you used to be able to just walk into Bagnell Dam and say hi to the guys on the way through to the survey records room of Bagnell Dam where all the field books and all the project information was at. I personally knew Al Elam, who was a surveyor on the project boundary of Union Electric's Bagnell Dam before he became the noted real estate guy.
Yeah.
A guy like Frank Arrett was also a project surveyor. Those people are people that I knew personally. I had information, so I have a wealth of knowledge about Camden County.
It's 11 minutes after the hour of 9. If you're just joining us, I want to remind you, you're listening to Greg Hasty. He is looking to upseat or unseat, if you will, Chris Franken, who's the current presiding commissioner there in Camden County. And you're a little impassioned. The planning and zoning kind of got you ticked off. What else have you got? What have you been thinking about it when that office? Because you got to be home at nights thinking, okay, I want to work on this. I want to work on this. We've heard a couple of things. What else have you got planned?
Okay. One of the most important things that we need to work on is Camden County spent $150,000 or $60,000 on a Camden County master plan that was adopted in 2012. And not a lot of people are aware that on that Camden County master plan, it took a bunch of Highway 5 frontage from Camdenton all the way to Sunrise Beach and some 54 frontage. And on the future use map of Camden County's new master plan, it designates the future use of those areas of being a suburban corridor, which is primary single-family residential. As a licensed real estate broker, I know the highest and best use of our highway frontage is not single-family residential.
It usually is not, no.
So we need to, even if they are proposing that that's what they would like the lake to look like 50 years from now, it's not based in reality because that will not happen. That highway frontage will eventually become commercial no matter what it takes.
But they spent $120,000 on this master plan to find that out.
So I don't think the master plan reflects the reality of the Lake of the Ozarks, nor do I think it's in the best interest of the Lake of the Ozarks. And here's why. We've had financial problems. We have to compete against the rest of the world. So we have to be actively looking for what will make an expanding economy to the Lake of the Ozarks. Because here's where we're at. We either have an expanding economy that utilizes all the resources that we have, or we'll end up like Detroit.
Yeah.
we're either growing or we're dying. And if we're dying or if we're stagnant, we're either stuck with one of two things, either higher taxes or reduced services. This is a retirement community with a lot of retired people here, and honestly, they're on a fixed income. They can't afford higher taxes
or reduce services.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, our roads. My opponent tries to make the claim that we're in the best financial position that we've been in ever. And it doesn't take anyone with just a little bit of common sense to realize that that's simply not true, and that our roads are in worse shape than they were 20 years ago, and we need to be taking action. We need to be taking action right away. They almost closed a bunch of fire stations this spring. So unless we do what's necessary to have an expanding economy, a broader tax base, and honestly, that's not only just to retain the services we have, but that expanding economy will allow for larger commercial areas. With commercial areas and the tax income that comes off sale tax, you can actually afford to have sewer systems. So this equates to environmental protection of the Lake of the Ozarks as well as financial protection of the Lake of the Ozarks. And
both are very important. We've heard a lot of environmental issues over the last several years,
That's
so
right.
It's right in the forefront.
So I have 40 years of knowledge of the Lake of the Ozarks. Osage Beach was a wide spot in the road when I started surveying. So I think my background, expertise, I'm both a licensed professional surveyor, a licensed real estate broker, and have been involved with the actual management of a couple of large developments, and have been involved in the process of design and plan of hundreds of others. So I have a really unique perspective about the lake and a lot of knowledge about the lake that I will apply as presiding commissioner to make sure that we can make the most of what we have here, and protect our citizens from government overreach with things like FERC and FEMA and you name it.
Yeah, it seems to be getting out of hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, Lake of the Ozarks is this giant, and I've said this before. It's like this giant money pie right out of the oven. There's 1,100 miles of shoreline here, and everybody looks at that and they say, and of course we all make a living. I'm making a living doing surveying, but groups from outside come in here and they see these billions and billions of dollars of assets, and they just say to themselves, if I could figure out just some way through government regulation to get just a little piece of this big, juicy Lake of the Ozarks pie, I'd be rich. So the next thing that comes up is the only way to do that is somehow or other through some government agency.
Yeah.
Just the fact that these doggone FEMA maps are painting all of these homes on the shoreline of the Lake of the Ozarks into a floodplain, when all those homes are above the level of almost all of them.
I mean, 660 is a full pool. So,
right.
Yeah.
And the actual road bed over the top of Bagnell Dam is 670. Not all, but a vast majority of the homes on Lake of the Ozarks are even above the road level of Bagnell Dam. The possibility of flooding is zero.
Yeah.
And yet they have to prove they're not in a flood zone. And in the outlying areas of Camden County, honestly, they put these flood zones above any level that has ever been reached. And what that means is about 10 or 15% of the homes that are identified in Camden County as being in a flood zone have never flooded and will never flood. And what that is a stream of income, not only at Camden County or the Lake of the Ozarks, but they've done these maps all over the country, a stream of income of probably 10 to 15% of the homes that they identify in a flood zone that will never flood, that will go to those insurance companies forever.
And that's a sad thing. It seems like we're paying for insurance, and that's wrong. Paying for insurance you don't even need.
This is one of the biggest scams in the United States history.
Well, I'm not even going to go with insurance on that. Okay, buddy. At 9:18 is the time. We're talking with Greg Hasty. The election's next Tuesday.
Yep.
How you feeling about it? I mean, this is your first run.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
To be honest with you, I feel real strong about it. I know a lot of people over a long period of years, and those people are coming out of the woodwork for me. there are a lot of people that are frustrated with what's taken place with government, particularly over the last 3.5 years. My feeling is right now, I've had a lot of well-known people here at this lake, old-timers that have been around here that have a lot of connections that said, Greg, you're going to win this election and you're going to win it big.
Well, I hope I hope you have success. I mean, because there's some problems, we need to fix them. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, that's all we can do is go out there and vote. That's the only way we can change things.
You know, the biggest problem we've got at the county level is just I want everyone to get an equal shake that goes into that planning and zoning department, and that's not taking place right now.
Yeah, I think it was Cliff Luber, and the other commissioner, the other day was talking about the same thing. The planning and zoning, they've got a new girl in there, and things are looking better.
And I really believe that I haven't met her yet, but I believe Kim is going to do a great job from what I've seen already. Not only that, but she comes with a strong recommendation from people inside the city government of Osage Beach. I think this is going to be an outstanding individual. Her job is a difficult job.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't want that job.
No, I wouldn't want that job. But I'll tell you this much. I want everybody to be treated the same with regard to planning and zoning, and I think that she will do that. And when the heat gets on with regard to planning and zoning, because there's always going to be heat, I intend to make sure that I'm watching out for her so that she can do her job.
She needs to wear a fire suit, don't she?
It's the presiding commissioner's job to take the heat, and when elected, and I believe that I'm going to be elected, I'm going to take the heat, but I'm going to do the job to try to make sure that when I'm gone, our Camden County is a better place to live. And
I understand you're going to have an open door policy. The citizens of the county can walk in and talk to you personally.
Absolutely. It would be my opinion that there is, other than maybe a personnel reason or something like that, there's no reason that my door should not always be open. And there's no reason why our local press, shouldn't have access to everything that I do during the course of the day as Camden County Presiding Commissioner.
I mean, if you don't let them have access, then there seems like there's something you'd be hiding, right. You know?
Yeah. You know, people don't want to admit that they make mistakes, and they want to cover up where I should have done this differently. I think the better policy is just say, guys, I'm here doing this job, and it's not going to be perfect. So let me just let you know what's going on, and when I make mistakes, they'll be openly made, and then I will do everything I can when those are identified to fix them.
I'd rather be up in front and honest about it than hide something.
And I think a lot of people are looking for that. They're wanting for someone to be in that office that will just simply do the job. You know, government works best when it's in the background quietly, and people are coming to the lake and enjoying the lake. I recently was at a vacation spot somewhere else, and I didn't.
Shame on you, by the way. But every now and then we got to get away.
Yeah.
I know. That's
But I didn't hear anything about controversy in government in the paper or anything like that. I just had an opportunity to enjoy where I was at.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to get back to that. We have a tendency to really air out our problems on the front page of the paper too much.
Or in a city council meeting. Yeah.
We need to identify those problems before they become massive, and we haven't been doing that. So I'm an honest guy that works hard and has enough knowledge to be able to make some things happen, and I care about this county. You know, I care about this county tremendously.
That's Greg Hasty. He's running for presiding commissioner there in Camden County, looking to unseat, if you will, Chris Franken. And thank you for your time today. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go today?
Sure. I would sure appreciate a vote on August the 5th, and I promise I will do a good job for you.
And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and kick in our next song, because I want to dedicate this song to you, Greg.
All right.
This is Joe Walsh, and Vote For Me, right here on Lodo Radio.
It if you vote for me. I want to be vice president. Vote for me. president, know what I'd do? Pretty much anything I wanted to. Vote for me. Vote for me. I'd have a first-class seat on Air Force One, an awesome pad in Washington, D.C. Play golf all day with heads of state. If they brought beer, wouldn't that be great? I can't wait. Well, there's an awful lot of issues important to me. Here's my campaign policy: legislation, education, occupation, arbitration, modernization, equalization, immigration, nation, integration, race relations, invitation, hospitalization, space station, accusation, nation, violation, compensation, legislation, realization, vote for me. Well, it's the land of the brave, home of the free. That's the funny thing about democracy. A vote for me is a vote for me.